Hello everyone and welcome to this special weekday Motor Trade Radio podcast, powered by Motors, the driving force behind multi-site advertising, with Philip Nothard and Curtis Hutchinson, bringing you all the chatter that matters across the franchised and independent dealer sectors.
We're delighted to welcome this week's special guest, Nic Thomas, UK Managing Director of Changan, to the Motor Trade Radio podcast. Changan will be a new name to many listeners, but it's a well-established brand in China and throughout Asia. The car maker launches in the UK in September in time for the 75 plate change, and Nic has been with the business in a European capacity for 18 months, prior to which he held senior UK and global roles at Nissan and Ford. Now, what makes Changan different to many new entrants is that it already has a presence in the UK with an R&D centre in Birmingham, which has actually been operational for 15 years. With the brand just weeks away from launch, Nic's going to share some of its strategic and network plans. So welcome to the podcast, Nic.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Great. It's great to have you on. And I know I'm very interested in hearing this interview, as many of the listeners will be today. And I know you are very, very busy, Nic, at the minute, I think, aren't you? It's as the build-up and everything going on.
Yeah, it's an exciting time, but it's certainly a very busy time as well.
Yeah. So as Curtis has sort of done the intro there, and many listeners, as I say, it could be fairly new to listeners in terms of the brand. Do you want to, for the benefit of the listeners, can you give us a brief background of Changan and you know how established it is, how big it is in business in China and the more international global space, and potentially which operate in international markets it already operates within?
Sure. As you say, we're not very well known yet. That's something I'm in the process of trying to change. Globally, Changan is a big deal. So we'll sell about 3 million cars this year. We're in the top 3 or 4 manufacturers in China. And actually, of those, we sell about 1 million units around the world outside of China. So that puts us very much in the top tier of the Chinese companies. Changan's a very old company. We've been around since the 1860s as a trading company, and since the 1980s making passenger cars. Like a few other Chinese car companies, we grew up through the 90s and the 2000s making cars for other brands, so for Ford and Mazda principally. But actually, Changan has really established itself as a significant auto player in our own right. So about 85% of those 3 million cars that we sell are actually our own brands, which are Changan, Deepal, and Avatar. And I think the unique thing, as you mentioned, the unique piece of Changan is actually that we already have a really strong global footprint. Although we don't sell cars in Europe yet, we have had a design centre in Italy, in Turin, for 20 years. We've got a large R&D centre in the UK, in Birmingham, which has been there for 15 years and is a global powertrain centre of excellence. And now we're using that as not only as my offices, but also as our European training centre and our European technical centre as well.
And Nic, I mean, that's great context for Changan globally and China. What can you take us through what your plans are for the UK? Because we've already said you're launching in September, not a huge amount of time left before the launch. So what are the immediate plans?
Yeah, you're right. Not long to go before the launch, although I've actually been preparing for this for about a year and a half. I joined Changan in January last year. Our plans are to launch the brand in the UK in September. We've set up a national sales company. I've hired a brilliant team of really experienced local people. We've been setting up in the background. The reason for taking our time is we've been setting up our parts warehouse. We've been working with Thatcham. We've been working with CAP. We've been working with the body repairers. All of the things that we need to do to make sure that when we start selling a car, that actually we're ready to support that car. That firstly, that we can access the multiple business channels that we know there are across the UK that are extremely important, but probably more importantly, that the customer can get insurance. That if that first car knocks off a wing mirror or crashes into a lamppost, then we're ready. We've got the parts available to repair that car, that the body repairers know how to do it, that all of those things that have perhaps tripped up some other brands that we're ready for those. We've got a big marketing plan, which of course is very important. We're not a known brand today, but we're about to change that. So we're very active with a big social media campaign to sort of kick us off in the background now. We've got right-hand drive cars in the UK now, so we're starting to do media test drives, and then from September we'll do a big brand launch and really kick off the above the line marketing. Of course, critical to that is launching a dealer network. So I and my team have been working really hard to get that dealer network in place, and that's I'm sure that's something we'll talk a bit more about. But that's been actually really refreshing for me how open lots of dealer groups are to new brands, and how interested and they are in they see the changing landscape, and they're really interested to partner with a new brand, as long as you've got a great product lineup, great people, and a really strong intention.
I mean, it's fascinating just hearing that bit about the coming to market, not just in terms of new front end product, the car, but actually really thinking about that infrastructure, the aftermarket, because that's, as you say, that's crucial, making sure that valuations, insurance sector, body repair sector, and parts supply is all set up. But I mean, let's take you back to the R&D centre that we mentioned earlier, and you talked just earlier about the design centre over there in Italy, and I mean, having the R&D centre in Birmingham and the presence in the UK for that 15 years. I mean, how has that, having that presence, helped with what you're about to enter the UK with in terms of product?
It's been hugely beneficial. I've worked in this car business more than 25 years, a lot of that time in the UK, and I didn't have any idea that Changan existed in the UK. But we've got more than 100 really experienced, really qualified engineers working in the UK already. So when our first cars arrived in the middle of last year into the UK for testing, the engineer, this is the Changan Deepal S07. The engineers took it for a drive and they said, "Wow, car's fantastic. The intuitive technology, the design, the style, everything's brilliant. But the suspension does not work for UK roads. It's too soft. It's too Chinese style suspension." And my immediate thought was, "Crikey, we've got a problem," because I grew up in the old world of car business. But the reality was they spent a month talking about it, a month doing a calibration exercise, and a month rebuilding and redesigning the suspension, and they put it into production in 3 months. That's a world I've never been in.
Yes.
And then I took the car for a drive, and a similar reaction. I absolutely love the car, but the ADAS systems were too intrusive. It was beeping and buzzing at me, and they needed work. And again, I thought, well, we've got a big problem here. And little did I know there was a colleague of mine live streaming this back to the engineers. And the next week I got an over-the-air update, and all of the systems had been totally updated. That's a new world for me, but it's an incredibly exciting world, and that's what we call China speed. That's why we can have so much product, and it's not just about okay, we've got a new car. It's every 2 years we can do a battery update to that car, and it's also we can do over-the-air updates on the software, so that when we get a problem we can fix it. And we can fix it overnight, or we can fix it within a week. And when there's an opportunity to add new features and those things, that can also be done at incredible speed. And that's for me a huge differentiator between the Chinese companies, and particularly ourselves, and the legacy brands.
Yeah, I think, as you say there, I think that the speed of being able to make those changes so quickly, as you say, from your background and my time in the sector, it's just not seen before, has it? You wouldn't necessarily. It's not necessarily the time it might take to change something. It's actually the fact that they would even consider changing something that's relative to the local market. That is what is different with what's coming with these new entrants. And I mean, just thinking about as a follow up, how big a challenge do you think it's going to be? I mean, there's a lot of happening in the UK and Europe in terms of new entrants in general, the shifting landscape of representation and market share. How big a challenge do you think it will be to establish your three brands with so much, let's say, competition in the marketplace?
Oh, I think it's a huge challenge, but that's why we're in this business. As I say, I've been here a long time, and it's always been a challenge. the marketplace has always been shifting. And what matters is great product, great marketing, a great market strategy, a great dealer network, having a real detailed understanding of how the market works and being able to access all of those different channels. It's never been easy and it won't be easy. But I have a lot of confidence that, with the product lineup that we've got, with the backup that we've got, with the the marketing investment we're going to make, with the dealers that we're able to attract so far, I've got a lot of confidence we can move quickly in this market and establish ourselves as one of the key players.
And Nick, with those three marks, so it's Changan, Deepal, and Avatar, can you explain how they'll be positioned and what drivetrains will you be launching with? Yeah, will there be EV as well as ICE?
Yeah. So the Changan group, as you said, combines the three brands you just mentioned. So Changan is our let's call it our mainstream brand. It's the family friendly vehicles in very very affordable price points, and those will be with hybrid and EV powertrains. Then you've got Deepal, which is our launching brand. Deepal is upper mainstream, still very affordable cars, well under £40,000 for fully loaded large BEV SUVs. And we'll move down into smaller cars as well, into the C and the B segment with the Deepal brand. And those two brands will be distributed jointly. So they will be in one showroom. The showroom will be called Changan. All of the products will be called Changan. So Deepal is a model name. So it's the Changan Deepal S07. So there's one showroom, Changan, one set of signage, one website, one brand, one advert, etc. Just with two model ranges underneath that from Changan and Deepal. Then Avatar is our luxury sports brand. Still, really, really attractive pricing, but absolutely stunning cars, super fast, beautifully designed, and very, very high tech. And they will come towards the end of next year with primarily EV powertrains.
So I think, obviously, Nick, you've got a stated an aim to achieve a 5% market share in the UK. And, you talk earlier about that, the challenges, but obviously at the other end, you've got potentially what we might say open doors. How will that be achieved, and how long do you think that might take to achieve that market share? What sort of your time strategy on it?
I don't want to put a time on it. It's an ambition of ours to be a very significant player in the market. As I say, what matters is we've got a great range of product coming through very quickly. We need to take the time to launch each of those products carefully, but equally we'll have by 2027 we'll have a very full showroom of EV and hybrid products across a range of segments, a range of price points, and behind that a fantastic marketing plan and a really, really strong customer service plan. We've already got the parts warehouse and all of these things set up, as I said. I think from there we will push. Of course, we're a car company; that's what we do. But we do want to grow organically as well. It's not going to be, push the registrations, push the market share at any cost. It's about growing through by doing the right things, by building up the business responsibly. And I think the market is open. I think if I look back at how market shares have actually changed in the past 20 years, people will be very, very surprised that some companies used to have 15-20% market share, and others that are now very significant used to be very small, and those dynamics actually change faster than people think. And what's happening now is you've got some legacy brands almost walking away from the market, not supplying their dealers with the right products to really go and sell. And others are demonstrating that if you bring the right things and you do the right things and you work with the right people, you can move quickly into the marketplace. And that's what we intend to do.
You're listening to All the Chatter That Matters, a special weekday episode of Motor Trade Radio. Powered by Motors, the driving force behind multi-site advertising.
Now, Nick, as you said at the beginning, you've been working with the brand for 18 months. Can I ask how the dealer recruitment is going, and what size groups are you attracting to it?
Sure. That's obviously the critical thing for establishing our business in the UK, is finding great dealer partners to work with, and convincing them and committing to them that we're going to be a serious player in this market, which we are. It takes time, but as I say, I'm really pleased with actually how open quite a few of the dealer groups are to working with new brands. They're very testing. They ask very detailed questions and want serious commitments on product plans and marketing budgets and after sales support and these things. But we're able to meet that. So we are aiming for 60 outlets this year. To give us a national network across about 25 partners, and that's a really critical piece for me. We're not just taking every dealer that's available, and we're not signing up a dealer in, I don't know, Northampton and then signing up another one just down the road. It's a very much a market area, a territory driven strategy, and with those 25 partners, we'll build up that national network in those market areas responsibly, so that dealers can make money. So dealers are competing against the competition and not against each other. We've got some, we out of those 60 sites, we've probably got about 40 already signed and identified, and showrooms underway. Which is a great position to be in. There's still some tricky nuts to crack, the Guildfords and the Cambridges and the Bristols of this world. So there is some space in there, but I'm really pleased that we've got some of the biggest groups in the UK signed up with us, but some local heroes as well. Some great partners in places like Yorkshire and the Midlands. We've got some great local partners there who can do a really great job for us.
So your network target for this year is 60 dealers. If you were to fast forward, say 3 years, what sort of size network would you expect to have by then?
Still with 25 partners. I think a responsible number of dealers is around 100. By that time, we were expecting to be selling 40 or 50,000 cars a year. So that means a good return on investment for those dealers, a good return on sales.
Yeah.
We will keep the investment costs low as well. But I think a network of around 100 dealers is about where we should aim. But critically, it's that market area strategy, working with the same partners that we're signing up with today.
Yeah, and you say you've got 40 dealers signed up already. Are there any names you can share with us?
Not just yet. We've got LOIs in place, and we'll get some announcements out in the next couple of weeks. I'll be sure to tell you first.
Yes,
But
thank you.
we've got some great partners already, and many more that we're about to sign with.
Yeah, we'll certainly give them a shout out on the Saturday headlines when we get to see those. I'm sure it'll be no doubt some familiar names, I suspect, to ones that we do talk about. But I mean, this is absolutely fascinating, Nick, and I mean, and finally here, I mean, we talk about those dealers that are on board, and we talk about you taking it very cautiously, you're selecting your dealers. We talk earlier with, potentially you're walking in with some good open doors. I mean, there is now this appetite and ambition now from the dealer network to take on these new brands and to look at what's happening ahead. I mean, what are the kind of, investment costs as always, as you know, through your career, CI costs, investment costs is always a tricky conversation with the retail network. What is it that you're, in terms of those investment costs for dealers interested in joining the Changan network? Is there anything you can share?
Yeah, I can. So we take a relatively pragmatic view to dealer setup. What's critical for me is finding the right partner, finding a partner that can cover that market area, and where we can make an agreement, a plan to say, right, here's your territory, and today it supports 1 outlet or 2 outlets, but by 27, 28, then we need a 3rd outlet in this point here. So take the Northeast, for example. We'll start in Middlesbrough and Newcastle, and that will be 1 territory, and then we'll add Sunderland in the middle at a later date, and we can make that plan with a partner today. In terms of the showrooms, it's a minimum square meterage of 200 square meters. That can be shared, and actually I quite like shared facilities. I think that gives us better exposure, better customer visibility. So if you share that, then you can share the handover bay, you can share the service reception, etc., and reduce the overall square meterage. And then in terms of signage, I'm not a furniture salesman, I'm a car salesman. And so it's, we'll keep the overall signage and furniture costs very low. It needs to clearly state that this is a Changan dealership. The customer needs to understand that we're a brand that's here to stay, that they recognise they're in our showroom, and it says something about our brand. But at the same time, we'll keep the costs at a really sensible level, and keep the overall investment at a really sensible level, as part of that partnership and as part of that business case that we want to build with the quality partners.
Yeah, I think it's a great approach. I mean, they say it is a thing, as you've seen many times over the years. That initial investment cost, and they've got to think about that return. But I think that pragmatic approach, that slow approach as you build up. I mean, just as a finish around, I mean, it's fascinating. I mean, the approach of the brands in terms of that Changan and Deepal in terms of entering the market constructively is fantastic. I think generally, the strategic approach, the entrance cost is again very pragmatic and very strategic to enter the market. So it's, I say, fantastic. And from my perspective, I mean, just this brief 20 minutes having a chat with you, thinking about obviously the approach from Changan into the UK has been very enlightening and very, very interesting. I'm sure the listeners will feel the same. So huge thank you from me, Nic, for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me on. It's been great to talk to you, and I look forward to giving you some more updates soon.
Yeah, we'll definitely get back to you on that, Nic. It'll be fascinating to see who you have signed up and how the launch goes. But until then, many thanks, Nic, for joining us, and good luck with the launch. And many thanks for listening to this episode. So until next week, it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from him.
Thank you for listening to the Motor Trade Radio podcast, powered by Motors, the driving force behind multi-site advertising. We'll be sharing all the URLs from this week's headlines on Monday morning. To make sure you receive them, just subscribe to the free newsletter on our LinkedIn page. Just search Motor Trade Radio Podcast.